Weekly mining news. Welcome to Australian Mining for New Starters. And as usual, we'll do the week's news, we'll talk prices, and then we'll have a chat about where a new starter can best focus their efforts on trying to get a start these days. So to start with, we'll have a look at IGO, and they have bought into a lithium mine and the factory that's going to process it down in Kwinana. IGO are a mining company that is very diverse, so this is just another finger in another pie for them. They've got a stake in Tropicana gold mine, and they also own a nickel mine outright, which does very well for themselves. So that's probably a good deal for them that they got at a fairly cheap price, considering that lithium is a little bit oversupplied at the moment, but they're banking on the fact that with everything ramping back up again, that there'll be strong demand going forward. Next, I just want to talk about this one just to show that it doesn't matter who you're related to. Everybody's having a hard time in coal with Matt Kavanagh's brother's mine going under and Glencore calling the receivers in. This is happening a lot around at the moment, and it's feeding a big trend of experienced open-cut coal drivers going to the gold mines. So I'm going to talk about that a bit more later. And lastly is the Native Title judgment that had several recommendations, including compensation. My feelings on it is that Rio should lose the lease and be fined as well. 250 million's not enough. They should put another zero on the end of that at least, and that might smarten them up to not doing this sort of stuff. I agree with this. It significantly robbed a piece of history for all Australians and for the world. It's the shared culture of the human race, and it's just not on. Just doing shit like that, it's just crazy that people would even contemplate doing stuff like that for money. The Premier has decided that he's going to pass some laws in March to make the mining companies more accountable. They were talking about standing operations down, but they're not going to do that. I think that's fair enough, but I think the politicians need to get in there and rectify the situation quick smart. So let's have a look at the prices. And first off, coal's hit a little bit of a spike. It's gone up to $65 US a tonne, which makes it just a little bit under 90 Australian dollars a tonne, which makes things a little bit more profitable. And if we move over to iron ore, that's gone through the roof as Brazil hasn't come online like everybody expected it to. China is cranking up what they're making, but they don't have this access to the supply that they normally do. So that's why there's a spike in the prices. Now, you'd think the spike in prices would lead to more mining jobs in iron ore, but if you haven't looked at this video, I suggest you have a look at it. This is how all the iron ore companies, or the big three iron ore companies, are talking about, or not talking about, are going to replace all their truck drivers with autonomous trucks because they can. That's a really good video to watch, and that's the reason why the iron ore price is at $152 a tonne, and nobody's really trying to open any more production up. They're just trying to make as much money as they can with what they got. BHP put an ad in for some trainees last week, but those jobs tend to be a 12-month contract on $70,000 a year for a 2-in-1 job, which is more about minimising labour costs than bringing on new people into the industry as far as I'm concerned. So if we move on to gold, gold's still around that $2,500 mark. It's been bouncing around that area all week, and I think it will continue bouncing around till it heads a little bit higher. Copper is over $10,200 a tonne. Nickel is up to $22,500 a tonne, so that's doing really well, which means everybody's making lots of money. Now, in the last little bit, I just wanted to talk about how a new starter can best focus their efforts in trying to get into the industry. And one of the big things that I suggest everybody to do is to do their research. So know what the employer wants. And this is a good video to watch on tickets. The reason I bring this up is because just lately, in the last couple of weeks, I've seen that a lot of people online are posting that they've done a whole heap of tickets to trying to get a job in the mine. So they've done gas testing, they've done confined space, they've done dump truck tickets, they've done loader tickets, all that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, that was all the things that you needed to do to get into the oil and gas boom, which was the last boom. This new boom is all about copper, gold, and nickel. Those are the metals that are going off at the moment. They're the mines that are forging forward, and most importantly of all, they're the mines that are actually hiring new starters. The big tip that I've got for people is to make sure you do your research and go where they are hiring new starters. Now, if you want to have a look at trying to get into hard rock underground, go over to the sponsor's website, and under mining videos, they've got entry-level mining jobs, the best shot series. And this is a group of videos that I did about 6 months ago, and it just answers most of the questions that people have. Each video is short, it only goes for a couple of minutes, and they just gives you all the information that you need to understand exactly what you need to do to try and get a hard rock underground mining job. And at the moment, people often ask me, how do you know that one area of the industry is in boom and one area isn't? And the simple way of understanding that is by the wages. If the wages are on the way up, then the industry is booming. If the wages are on the way down, then they've got an oversupply of people and there's a contraction going on. At the moment, with oil and gas and construction and all those type of things that happened in the last big boom, they've got an oversupply of people and the money's going down. Whereas in hard rock underground, a truck driver 3 years ago they were trying to pay them $320 a day, or they were paying them $320 a day. They were trying to pay them, the new starters, $280 at that stage. Now a new starter's making above $400, and it's pretty easy to get a truck driver's job around Kalgoorlie for over $500 a day at the moment, just because there's no experience around. And that's generally a really good rule of thumb to judge on which area of the industry is booming and looking for people and which area isn't. Wherever the money's going up, they're booming and they're looking for people. Wherever the money's going down, they've got an oversupply. With what's happening with the coal and gold at the moment in the open pits, a lot of the gold miners are deliberately chasing down the people that have lost their open pit coal jobs and transferring them straight over, which is a reasonable sort of fit, because whether it's coal in the back or whether it's gold in the back or even nickel or whatever, it's all the same sort of job. Whereas you can't really do that with underground, switching from coal mining to hard rock underground, unfortunately. I hope you found that information helpful and the news helpful, and if you want to have a crack at getting into underground, then I suggest you check out the sponsor's DIY Intro to Underground Mining training. Only costs $450 and it teaches you all the information that you need to know. If you could like and subscribe to the channel, that would be wonderful, and thank you.